Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
I wanted to show some teams that I was more athletic than they thought I was, and that I was accurate. And I feel like I did those two things, and I felt good. I don't know of any workouts that have gone no balls on the ground, but we were able to do that. And Demir, Nick, Cody, Mike, Connor, those guys, they look great.
He likes to press up. He likes defense. It cause a lot of havoc on the front court, so we can score easy buckets. And he told me that's what happened last year. They didn't get enough easy buckets. So me coming in, I'll be there to play a lot of defense, get a lot of steals, tip balls, and we'll be able to run.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia. Another busy day in the books, and we've got it all covered for you here on Sports Talk. USC gets a basketball commitment from Jamal Gregory, 6'4", high-leaping shooting guard from Washington, D.C. If you don't believe me, go to YouTube, dial in Jamal Gregory dunk, and look at him leap over, I think it's 5 teammates.
Yeah.
Lined up in a row to throw down a dunk. K-Mac was over at Williams-Brice today for USC Pro Day. Dylan Thompson, pretty good.
Well, if completing 41 of 41 passes is pretty good.
He was good. Demir Bird was fast. Mike Davis was fast.
Demir Bird was very fast. Mike Davis was not as fast. A.J. Ken was the slowest of that group, but he's probably going to be the first one
he's
off
a lineman,
so exactly. Well, it's funny. You go in alphabetical order, so Demir Bird goes out there and runs a 4.240.
Yeah.
He blows by, and the next guy up is A.J. Ken. So you just when you see one guy by and then another guy plodding by.
Demir Bird was a world-class sprinter coming out of high school, junior world-class sprinter coming out of high school, and of course his speed was very useful to USC. Mike Davis, though, running a 4.3 when people always said that not didn't have that great speed, but he showed it today.
I see. That's why I like watching football film, because if you think Mike Davis isn't fast enough, check out the run against North Carolina when he takes the angle away from 2 defensive backs. Mm-hmm. Now, you can tell when guys are closing in diagonal, they've got the angle on you, and he took it away. Mm-hmm. That's all I had to see.
Well, his junior year, he had a half dozen runs over 50 yards. I mean, you don't do that without a little bit of speed. I mean, Marcus Lattimore, for all of his skill, he wasn't a guy that busted off a lot of long runs. He just kind of churned away and pounded on you, and by the fourth quarter, you didn't want to tackle him anymore. Mike Davis looks a lot bigger. I mean, he's very all these guys look bigger. What they do when they're training for this. When the season ends, they spend 4 months working out 8 hours a day just for this day. An immense amount of pressure on them. I couldn't imagine what that's like for these guys that know that, really their futures are dependent on how they do. Dylan Thompson, he completed all his passes. He's still not going to be drafted on draft.
He's not going to surpass Mariota or
no. I don't think he's going to move up on Kuiper's big board. But maybe he can catch on with the team and be one of those Cinderella stories. He's definitely given it the old college try.
He's got the height.
We have got a very, very busy show. Coverage from USC Pro Day, Clemson Spring Football. We'll hear from Jamal Gregory, and Mookie Wilson joins us tonight. Be right back. Phone number here on Sports Talk is 800-956-7266. We'll get to some calls here early on. A couple lines are still open, so give us a call. Shoot us an email, talkback@sportstalksc.com, or a tweet at SportsTalkSC. The website is sportstalksc.com and on Facebook, Sports Talk Radio Network. Got a lot of stuff coming your way. Mentioned Mookie Wilson, who has written a book that's coming out next week in conjunction with the start of the Major League Baseball season, entitled Mookie, Life, Baseball, and the 86 Mets. And we'll talk with him coming up at the bottom of the hour. Jamal Gregory, 6'4" guard from Washington who committed to USC. We'll chat with him around 6:45 tonight. Dawn Staley was on a conference call today along with the other coaches in the Final Four. Some comments from her about going for the first time. The most interesting thing she said in a 30-minute conversation with national media, she never, ever wanted to be a coach. That was not something she aspired to do. And she was a great player in all levels, but she never wanted to be a coach. And now, of course, she's become a great coach.
Well, how many point guards do, though, become coaches?
A bunch. They're the quarterback of the team. Talked a lot about her days in Philadelphia. In fact, Muffet McGraw, who she'll oppose in the semifinals, is also a Philadelphia native. And is Gino from Philadelphia?
I'm not sure.
3 of the Final Four coaches have roots that go back to Philly. They're all talking about that. What else? Coverage of Clemson scrimmage today in their spring practice, and more from USC Pro Day as well. All that coming your way. Couple of quick notes, and then we'll get to phone calls. 800-956-7266. Shaka Smart, representatives from Texas, in deep conversation with the VCU coach about becoming their new head coach. And some are telling CBSSports.com this afternoon that a deal could be completed soon, though it's not clear if Smart will actually accept the offer from Texas. Meantime, Alabama continues to work Greg Marshall with a big offer to him, but Wichita State apparently responding with a big offer of its own to try to keep Greg Marshall. Back to Shaka Smart. The side story here locally, of course, is if he takes the job at Texas, what does that mean to Tevin Mack, who was outstanding in the Carolinas All-Star Classic on Saturday night with 27 points. He was South Carolina's MVP. And, of course, he has signed with VCU. What happens if Shaka Smart leaves for Texas? Does he honor his commitment to VCU or decide to try to get out of it and go somewhere else? And a twist in the Jonathan Taylor case at Alabama, the former Georgia and Alabama defensive tackle. Today, Tuscaloosa police announced the 24-year-old woman who told police she had been assaulted by Taylor has recanted her statements. She subsequently was arrested. And now what happens with Jonathan Taylor? He's been dismissed from the Alabama team. He was dismissed from the Georgia team, but now the woman is recanting her story. So bit of a mess there. The state Senate here in South Carolina looking at a bill that would require USC and Clemson to pay student athletes up to $5,000 to be deposited into a fund on the athlete's behalf. The total trust fund amount may not exceed $25,000 per student athlete. Now, it says student athlete. It's not stipulating whether it's just football players, basketball players. It's saying student athletes. They mean the 300 and some odd student athletes across the board. Is that what they're saying? I guess so.
I don't know what they mean, but again, and you can get mad at me if you want to, legislature, but it's another showboating legislation. When other things, there are bigger fish to fry in this state than worried about student athletes.
Potholes. Spend that money on fixing the flipping potholes that are all over this state. And the NCAA is already doing something along these lines anyway.
Yes.
I don't understand why the state legislature feels like it's got to step in. But Ray Tanner was there to testify. I wonder how he enjoyed that. he had to testify at the hearing today. I wonder how many autographs he signed for those buffoons after it was all said and done. I shouldn't call our legislators buffoons. They're some very smart, nice people over there, but they are few and far between. Oh, by the way, speaking of politics, he's back again running for the presidency, ladies and gentlemen. Former USC graduate assistant coach, former Benedict College head coach, former high school head coach in our state, former Savannah State head coach, Robbie Wells, is running for president again. He failed, if you didn't know. He was running as the Constitution Party nominee in 2012. He did not win, and he is running again in 2016. So good luck,
under the Whig
Robbie.
Party.
800-956-7266 is the number. Let's go in order. We'll go to Bob and Casey. First up tonight here on Sports Talk. Good evening, Bob. Welcome into the program. Thanks for listening to us in Columbia. On the Point, good to have you along with us.
Yeah, Phil, Kevin, and Tom. Yo, what's up? How you doing tonight now?
We're doing great.
My prediction came true. University of Miami and Stanford are going to be in NIT men's basketball final. Did you hear that?
Well, you know, I thought Miami would win a championship this year. I didn't think it would be the NIT. I thought they would do better than that, but hey.
Whatever.
You take what you can get.
Beggars can't be choosers, right?
That's right.
Well, they played a good game. They came from behind. In fact, the last couple of games in the NIT, they come from double-digit deficit.
Yep. One more thing. On my draft guides, Dylan Thompson on the boards is not either in the top 300 or 200, depending on which publication you buy. So it'll probably be a free agent pickup, kind of like Connor Shaw.
Yeah, he definitely will not be drafted.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, I mean, here is a guy that threw for 3,500 yards in the SEC.
Well, you know,
I mean, come on.
Well,
doesn't that say something about him?
Taj Boyd broke every major Clemson passing record and a lot of the ACC records, and he went in the 7th round. That kind of stuff doesn't matter to these NFL guys. I mean, they look at you. You have to fit a certain mold, and if you don't, you're going to have.
That's why in some circles, Dylan Thompson fits the mold better than Taj Boyd because he's 3 inches taller than Taj Boyd.
He is taller.
All right, 800-956-7266 is our phone number, and all right, we'll take this one now. We interrupt Talk, a very good show, very good flow. We interrupt the flow to welcome in the de facto mayor of the city of Charleston, bad boy by the bay, ninja of the night, pontiff of the port city, queen of the cowboy crybabies, and the last place finisher in the Charleston Bridge Run. He came in 2 days, 16 hours, and 27 minutes. It's not Jim Rome. He would have crossed the bridge in a limousine. It is Jay Rome.
Hey, Phil.
Jerome, how was the bridge run this time? How was it? You enjoy it? You enjoy your stroll across the bridge?
Does that mean I'm not welcome in Indiana, Phil?
I don't know. What sort of things does that law have that pertains to you?
I don't know, Phil. I'm asking you. You deem the queen of the cowboys, or I mean, I'm just wondering
as the crybabies.
I know I'm not welcome in South Carolina because they have the same law.
The only place I know where you're not welcome is in Charleston. And on one particular radio station. That's the only place I know where you've worn out your welcome.
All you got to do is pull out your money and your plastic. You're welcome anywhere.
Hey, could you, Tom and Kevin, could you speak up a little bit? I'm having a hard time hearing you over the fake crowd noise, okay?
This is not the Georgia Dome.
Actually, the noise.
And what they do, they won 2 games at home. And was that worth the draft pick?
Actually, the noise is from the air coming out of the balls that's been deflated.
Hey, are they going to be able to transfer the fake crowd noise to the new stadium?
Oh, yeah.
It's going to cost about $1 billion, I heard.
Just need big speakers.
The taxpayers there will pick up the check just like they are for the new baseball stadium. They love funding stadiums.
Let's face it, one of the reasons they're building that new stadium is they've been faced with rebuffs now and again because of the winter they had that year, and they are hell-bent for leather to get another Super Bowl in Atlanta.
Hey, Jerome, hang on if you want to through the break. We'll let you finish up, and we'll take more calls. 800-956-7266. Mookie Wilson coming up after the bottom of the hour break and a whole bunch more. Be back in a moment. Our good friend Harold Miller from our Florence and Sumter stations in the neighborhood stopped by to say hello. Always good to see folks from one of our affiliates come by. He's been with us a long time, and he's a legendary radio operator here in our state. He's been at it many decades. Has done a fabulous job with his stations and, well, that PD area and over in the Sumter area as well. So we appreciate his affiliation with our network and with Sports Talk. All right, back to the phones. And, all right, one final word from Jerome. Maybe Jerome's going to announce his candidacy for presidency this time around. What do you think? Jerome for president?
I have as much chance as Ben Carson, Phil. Oh, by the way,
I like Ben Carson's chances. Are you saying you're as smart as Ben Carson?
Yeah, he was real smart with that comment he made on. Hey, by the way, I just want Coach Colin Myers from Kentucky to know the only Republicans rooting for you, the only Republicans rooting for you are the ones outside the state of Kentucky, okay? I mean, rooting against you, the ones outside the state, the ones inside the state of Kentucky, they're rooting for you. But outside the state of Kentucky, trust me, because I've been listening to them, they're rooting for either Aaron's team, which is Ricky, or they're rooting for Coach Krzyzewski's team, which is Duke. Gee, isn't that hard to believe, Phil?
Nobody's rooting for Magic's team?
You don't think any Democrats are rooting for him?
Oh, Democrats may be rooting for Michigan State, but the Republicans, trust me, they're rooting for either Aaron's team, which is Whiskey, or they're rooting for Mike's team, that's Coach Krzyzewski for you, so Duke.
Well, I think Democrats, anything that wears blue, they vote for, make it a blue state.
Then again, Kentucky's kind of loaded up on the talent. Democrats might want them to spread some of that wealth to some of the lesser teams to even the playing field.
Let's keep politics
Kentucky
out of
would be
our
a one
sports.
percenter, wouldn't they?
Let's keep the politics out of our sports, please. Thank you, Jerome. And get some rest now after that bridge run. You're going to need it. 2 days, 16 hours. 47 minutes for him to
he took the Rosie
run
Ruiz
across
route.
The Cooper River Bridge,
the
Ravenel Bridge. Yes.
He took the Rosie Ruiz route.
Unless you pulled yourself up
If
from
he
the
ran
river.
across the Cooper River Bridge and he fell in the water because they demolished it a long time ago.
Well, they still call it the Cooper River Bridge Run. That's what they call it. They don't call it the Ravenel Bridge Run. It's still the Cooper River. The Cooper River
The
has
Thomas
changed.
Ravenel Bridge Run. They're renaming after Thomas now.
Yeah. All right, quickly, back to the phones we go. Jim up in Rock Hill. Welcome into Sports Talk. How you doing?
Good. Phil, this situation with South Carolina legislature about the money for the athletes.
Yeah.
Of course, back in the days of Rome, when Rome was a power, they used to talk about the pompous Roman Senate. You could use that adjective for the South Carolina legislature. Except they're too damn stupid to be called pompous. I'm sure. Question to you is this: what would happen if such a law was passed in this state and it conflicted with NCAA regulations?
Yeah, that's and they're only applying this to Clemson and South Carolina. They're not the only two state-supported schools in this state. They can't make South Carolina State do it, for example, because they don't have any money to begin with.
Winthrop can't make them do it.
And we're back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia. Good to have you along with us. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes, and the State Man. Great, joined now by one of the all-time greats in our state, former South Carolina and Major League Baseball star Mookie Wilson, who joins us now. And I don't know, is he Mookie the baseball player or Mookie the author? I don't know which one sounds better to him. Mookie, how you doing?
I'm doing just fine, man. How you doing?
We're doing great. And, well, first of all, congratulations on moving into the world of literature. Tell us about the new book you have coming out.
Oh, well, thank you. The new book, actually, the book was released, actually, the hardback was released last year, April.
Mm-hmm.
And now they have released the paperback, which is going to be, well, actually released on the March 31st. And it's an autobiography. But it's not a baseball book now. So if people don't think that it's all about baseball, there is one or two chapters that's relating to baseball. But most of it's about life. It's about Mookie Wilson growing up. It's about the trials and the adversity that I've gone through over my life and my career. And there's some things that may be a little bit controversial, but sometimes the truth hurts, and it doesn't make it any less, factual. So it's a very entertaining book, and I encourage everyone to go out and read it if you're curious to know what's behind the name of Mookie Wilson.
Yeah, absolutely. The name of the book is Mookie, Life, Baseball, and the 86 Mets. So what kind of things growing up in South Carolina did you have to overcome that you faced to become the baseball star, both on the collegiate level and the major league level that you became?
Well, of course, I was born in a very large family, 12 kids, raised on a farm. My father was a sharecropper. And, of course, big back in growing up in the 60s and the 70s, you have right in the middle of the civil rights movement, rat integration, that whole, adversity there, going through all of that. And things that a young African American has to go through during those times. And through all of that, I ended up going to college and eventually coming to play at University of South Carolina. And that, believe it or not, I was the first black to actually play baseball on the game called baseball team. So, so that in itself was an adventure.
Yeah.
It was one of the greatest experiences I've had. So it's been a trip, but it's been a very enjoyable trip, and I've learned a lot from it.
You came to South Carolina baseball at a great time. I mean, about the time you got there was about when the program was starting to take off and reach national prominence.
Yes, I got there the year after Coach Richardson left,
Mm-hmm.
and Coach Joan Range, it was his first year.
Yep.
So we kind of, we kind of walked in there together. And you're right. From that year, Carolina's just been at the top of the map, man, when it comes to baseball. I mean, there's no greater school you can go to if you want to play baseball.
No question. And you had let's see, you had one or two sons go play there. You had both your sons played, right?
No, I only had one son that played.
Mm-hmm.
I had a brother that played at Carolina. Philip, he played at Carolina.
Philip was a brother. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
my brother.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He played at Carolina.
All right.
Yes, and then that was I think like 83, maybe. I think that he left.
And then Preston, right?
No, Preston didn't play college ball. He left strictly from high school. Went direct to the pro.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
I got to go back and check the Wilson family tree. When it comes.
There's a lot of great Wilson baseball.
There were quite a few. I had one brother that played at University of South Carolina in Aiken. Then I had another brother play at the University of South Carolina in Salchahatchee.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Philip played there, and then I played there. So we had quite a few brothers come through here and play Carolina baseball.
Now, the impact of your coaches as you were coming along, Coach Horton at Bamberg Earhart, Coach Raines, both at you played for Coach Raines at Spartanburg Methodist, right?
No, at Spartanburg Methodist, I actually played for Terry Floyd.
Okay.
And then I came over to Carolina from there. So, yeah.
What about the impact of Coach Horton on your life? He is such a great coach from Bamberg Earhart.
He was I played all my life, but it was just a matter of just playing strictly off of talent. And I think when I got to play high school, start learning the little techniques and stuff that goes into playing baseball and progressing to the next level. And he was very instrumental in my doing that. And he was, he was a friend. And he really cared about the people that he played with. It's more than baseball to him. He really cared about us as people, and he really treated us very, very, very kindly. And he opened his home up to us and everything he had. So it was great. It was great.
Well, coming from rural Bamberg County, and Mookie, I'll admit I'm from Denmark, right down the road. The adjustment period of playing even at South Carolina, and then going to in the white hot spotlight of playing in the Big Apple, was that a big adjustment for you?
Man, you have no idea. Traveling the road and people acknowledging that you exist. They don't even know you, but there's just common Southern courtesy. They speak, and back in New York, I didn't even meet my neighbor for a while. I mean, you just, it wasn't as cordial as the people were here in South Carolina. I mean, they're great people, but they're just not as open. They don't open themselves up to you as they would be people do in the South. And that was culture shock to me. I'm walking down the street, I'm yelling, "Hey, how you doing?" And, they're looking at me like, this boy's lost his mind. What are they thinking? It was different. It really was.
Well, it's your personality and the name Mookie and your personality. You were always a guy with a smile on your face. And that's what people, you charm people, or so it seemed.
I believe that life is fun. My father taught me that. You enjoy life. And you enjoy people. One thing I was afraid of people. And I think that helped me with my career and through my life, it's not being afraid to acknowledge people and appreciate people and to treat people with respect. People would be around me, be around me, to have fun. I like to be around people that are smiling. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing worse than being around someone that's always complaining and grouchy. That's the worst thing in the world.
You mentioned this book gets into a lot of different subjects beyond just baseball, and you hinted at some controversial topics that you touch on. Without giving the book away, everybody go out and buy it. What are some of those things that you kind of delve into?
Well, the one thing that I did dabbled into was, how tough it was growing up, in the South in the 60s and mid 70s. It was very, very difficult. And, and the point from that is that, what we experience in our past should make us stronger, not make us bitter, and not hold our past, not let our past hold our future hostage. That's the one thing that I wanted the book to really get across, and let people understand that even though you may be going through tough times, you still have to live, and you can't live in the past. And the other thing is, you mentioned that I'm always smiling, and people think that my life has always been a bed of roses. And in the book, I actually mentioned some adversity that I went through with the Mets. And I want people to understand that even though I was doing my job, I was unhappy with the situation. And there again, you don't let your present situation dig. And that's what I want people to understand. That's what I'm hoping that people get from the book, that they can move on and also deal with the fact that I actually went back to school to get my degree after I finished baseball. And I hope people just let them know that, hey, an education is there. No matter how old you are, it's still there. So, it's quite a few things that I tried to mention in the book. I get too in depth and stuff like that.
Mookie, can you hang on for just a moment?
Yes, I can.
We got to take a quick break here. We'll come back and talk more about the book and more about your experiences. We're visiting with former South Carolina great Major League Baseball star Mookie Wilson with us here on Sports Talk. And the name of the book, Mookie, Life, Baseball, and the 86 Mets. Back in a moment. And we're back with Mookie Wilson here on Sports Talk for a couple of more minutes. Mookie, thank you for hanging in there with us. Now, the book, when you undertook the task of writing the book, was that difficult for you? Was it difficult to turn inside yourself and dredge up the old memories and the old stories and put it all together in book form and kind of relive that stuff?
Well, actually, it wasn't very difficult. The most difficult thing was deciding what to put in the book. I did not want to do a baseball book writing about numbers and games. I mean, come on, you can Google me and find all that stuff out. You know, you don't need to know. And besides, it's boring. And I've read a lot of books that former athletes have written, and it's all about their careers. You know, hit forward, hit a home run here, to hit this pitch off that guy. No, I didn't want to do that. I wanted a book that was going to be more meaningful, more inspiring, more encouraging to people. And in doing so, I had to decide on what I wanted to put in the book. And but there again, I think that, you know, to make that book meaningful. So that's how I ended up putting material together. I started writing this book actually 3 years ago, and I just decided to put it, you know, into actual print form because I thought it was time. And I think I had a lot that I wanted to say, and it kind of leads up to the next couple books that I'm planning on writing. So it's always that good. So
what's ahead from Mookie Wilson, the author?
Excuse me?
What's ahead for you, the future books? What do you plan to write?
Yeah. Well, as you know, I'm an ordained minister now. So I have that, and I think the last chapter of this book, I kind of go into it a little bit, and then the next book is going to pick up from that, and it's going to be talking about baseball, with the relationship between baseball and religion. So I'm going to put that in there, and it's very interesting reading. I'm having a great time putting it together. So hopefully, when I'm all said and done, it should hopefully end up with about 3 or 4 books. So,
where are you living now?
I actually live in the Columbia area. I live in outside of Columbia, a little town called Eastover.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were in our backyard.
Yeah, I've been here now. I've been living here now since 1990.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. As far as I do have to ask you baseball, you know, your memories of the Mets in particular, I guess 1986 stands out the most in your mind. Is that safe to say that's the highlights, what you guys accomplished?
Yeah, no question. Anytime you can win the World Series, I mean, that's got to be the highlight of your career, because I mean, there's a lot of people has gone through this system and never made it to the World Series. I mean, I can name quite a few of them that doesn't, you know, and I played 10 years, and hey, I got a ring and played in a couple of playoffs, and actually coached in another World Series. We didn't win, but we played the Yankees in 2000, and yeah, but that's the highlight of my career. I mean, and let's face it, that's the only thing people remember anyway, is that year, you know. But I've had a great time in this game.
And of course, you were part of one of the most memorable plays in baseball history. I mean, you know, that's got to stick out to you.
Well, that doesn't hurt. I mean, you know, now that is something else. You know, to be part of one of, I think MLB rated like the third most popular memorable play in baseball history, and you know, maybe Bill wouldn't think so, but, you know, but that's something to be proud of, and is to be remembered for a part of baseball history. It's important, and I do value that.
Do you ever just get in your car and drive over to the Roost area where the Sarge used to be, just I don't know, look at where you used to play? I mean, it's not there, but you drive over in that part of town?
Actually, I have. Before they built the new stadium, I actually went over there and walked around, and it brought back the memories of Mark Van Bever, you know, oh man, Chops, you know, and David Smalls, you know, Chuck McLean. I mean, we were a good team and a great group of guys. And I will say this, even though I was the first and only African American on the team, I didn't feel that with those guys. I mean, those guys, they really they were very sensitive to my needs, and my culture. And it was great. Mark Vanberg was my roommate, and we were, so in Chuck McLean, I can't say enough good things about Chuck McLean. So it was a great experience for me. Yes, I have very fond memories of Carolina.
Great talking to you, and we really appreciate your time tonight. Once again, the book is Mookie, Life, Baseball, and the 86 Mets. And it's now available for you at bookstores all around South Carolina and around the country. So check it out. Thanks to Mookie Wilson. Back in a moment. Thanks again to Mookie Wilson for being with us here on Sports Talk. I was not aware he was living in the Columbia area. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Living over in Eastover, ordained minister. We'll have to call him up more often. Now that we know where he lives, we're going to bother him. He's going to rue the day that he told us that he lives in the Columbia area.
And you struggle to hit 300, that'll draw you to religion every time.
All right, to recruiting now. And again, we're going to talk to him in just a few minutes, but USC today got a commitment from 6'4" shooting guard Jamal Gregory of Washington, D.C. Picked the Gamecocks over Kansas State, Maryland, Minnesota, Rutgers, and others. He attended the Elevate Sports Institute in Delray Beach, Florida. Made it official to USC last weekend with his mother and saw enough at that time to convince him to join the 15.6 rebounds, 3 assists per game. Also, USC basketball note, 7-foot center Connor Clifford, Saddleback Junior College in California, will make his official visit to USC on April the 10th. Now, football. Offensive lineman Landon Dickerson, Hudson, North Carolina, current top 3 of USC, Tennessee, Virginia Tech. Attended USC's junior day the end of January. Liked Coach Elliott and the atmosphere and facilities. He said Elliott told him he could play anywhere on the line. He's also been to North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Tennessee, and went to games last season at Wake Forest and Clemson. He does not have a leader among his top 3 and no timetable for a decision. Might return to USC for the spring game. Offensive lineman Brett Heggie, 6'4", 290, Mount Dora, Florida. Strong interest in USC. Plans to come back to USC for the spring game. He was at Central Florida Tuesday, and he's at Florida today. USC, NC State, Central Florida, West Virginia, Indiana, Tulane, Memphis, Georgia Southern, Cincinnati, and Florida International have offered him. He will visit, as I mentioned, USC on April the 11th for the spring game. That will actually be his first trip to South Carolina. He's looking forward to it. SEC school, and he's heard good things about the program. He hears from USC's Everett Sands and Sean Elliott quite a bit. His dad played at Florida State, so the idea of playing for Spurrier, he's not exactly, he grew up a Seminole fan, obviously, but he says that's fine. Offensive lineman Corey Helms, who's transferring from USC to USC from Wake Forest, had his appeal to the NCAA for immediate eligibility denied, so he'll have to sit out this coming season. Offensive lineman John Simpson from Fort Dorchester will visit USC tomorrow. Offensive lineman Eric Douglas, 2017 kid from Charlotte, was at Clemson today, and USC has offered Alisi Mbembasi. He is a linebacker defensive end from Georgia. And there you go with the recruiting report. Recruiting always available on our website, sportstalksc.com. In our next hour, we'll hear from Jamal Gregory. We'll hear from Clemson football, USC pro prospects, and Don Staley, and more. And we'll be right back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And we are back. It is Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia here on a Wednesday night. Good to have you with us. K-Mac has left us. He had to go take care of some parental duties, so he has gone. Pro has no parental duties. He's still with us. And my parental duties are well in the past because mine are grown up and gone.
Oh, no.
They're their own parents. At least one of them is.
That never ends.
They got their own. Well, that's true. I'm always daddy to the end. But you know what? They don't listen as much as they used to.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, we are here. State Man is here. Coming up, we're going to dial up Jamal Gregory, who committed to South Carolina today, 6'4", high-jumping, defensive stalwart kind of player from Washington, D.C. Good-looking kid on tape, and based on the things we've heard about him, sounds like a good pickup for South Carolina. Kansas State was in on him. Maryland was in on him. Minnesota was in on him as well. And also coming up, coverage from Clemson's spring practice today where they had a scrimmage inside Death Valley. And we'll have coverage from USC's Pro Day today. K-Mac was over there for that. And some Dawn Staley's. We got a lot to do in this hour. Clemson and Furman playing baseball this afternoon up at Doug Kingsmore. They're scoreless. I'm sorry, Presbyterian. Furman last night. That's right. Yes, I know it's a 5-4 win. I know it's 5-4.
It's the two hoes.
Pender took one for the team.
Trying to help.
It's the kind of hit by pitch you like. If you're going to get hit by a pitch, at least force in the game-winning run.
There you go.
You know, so Pender got hits and
of course,
got the winning run in. And now the Tigers are playing Presbyterian tonight. And what is it? Scoreless.
Scoreless.
Yeah,
very early. It's just going to second inning.
Okay. South Carolina won last night down at the Citadel 2-0. Gamecocks not much offense, great pitching last night. Now they go on the road to play Mississippi State tomorrow night, and series are being played Thursday through Saturday because of the Easter holiday. So they're starting up these weekend series a night early.
And this game is on ESPNU tomorrow night at 8 o'clock.
South Carolina, Mississippi State.
Mississippi State.
Yeah. All right, so that's what we have coming up for you in this hour of Sports Talk, and a couple of other notes I wanted to pass along to you. We had Bill McDonald last night, USC Golf, on with us. We talked about how much they would move up in the rankings. Well, golf stat relative rankings, that's one of the golf rankings. Gamecocks are now number 4 behind Florida State, Texas, and Arizona State. And Clemson is not in the top 25 this week. So it's Florida State, Texas, Arizona State, USC, Illinois, Vandy. Wonder how Ben Fogler's doing at Vandy. Must be doing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6, LSU 7, Oregon 8, Oklahoma 9, and Washington is number 10. All right. And former Citadel football player Justin Oxendine has signed a contract with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, CFL. Back in a moment. Oh.
Dumbass.
Oh. All right, we're back at Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornbluth, Professor Tom Hayes from downtown Columbia. Coming up, we're going to be chatting with Jamal Gregory, at least we plan to, who has committed to South Carolina, 6'4" guard, who attended the Elevate Sports Institute in Delray Beach, Florida, but he's from Washington, D.C., went to a couple of different high schools in Washington, and this year averaged 15.5 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, led his team in steals. His coach told me he's one of those guys that makes game-changing plays, says he's the most athletic player he's been around, and he said the best thing he brings to the next level, he really likes to guard. He makes all the effort plays that helps you win games. He says his skill level has come a long way, ultra-competitive guy. That's from his coach. His coach is Chad Myers down in Delray Beach, Florida. So we are efforting to hook up with him at this particular time, so we'll get to him in just a moment. While we wait on that, we're going to turn our attention to Clemson football. Tigers had another spring practice today, had a scrimmage. Also, the news is that J.J. McCullough has been reinstated to the team now. Okay. So he's back at tight end. Tigers very thin at tight end. He served a long penalty. He was in Dabo's doghouse deep in the doghouse. So he's back, and he'll be able to practice now and move forward the rest of spring and get ready for the upcoming season. But today was a scrimmage day in the Valley for the Tigers. Dabo was hoping to see some great things from the offense, but based on what he had to say, it sounds like the defense kind of carried the day. Here's Dabo.
The second big scrimmage behind us. I thought did some good things on both sides. Offensively, best thing we did was run the ball. We really did some good things in the running game, but we just were really poor in finishing drives. We had some good plays don't equal points. You got to finish drives, and we just did a really poor job of that all day today. I thought it was just a tremendous performance by the defense really all day. Gave up a couple big plays, but then they rallied and got stops, got pass breakups, blocked goals. They did everything that they needed to do to get some stops. Probably the biggest thing defensively that they did a poor job of was coming out. Ball's on the 1 yard line, and they let them move it all the way across midfield. So that was a disappointment. And then 2 minute offense scored 2 plays, 65 yards in 2 plays. So that was the 2 negatives from a defensive standpoint. But outside of that, they really, I thought, had a much better scrimmage than they had the first one. Not near as many penalties. Very clean in finishing some plays and making tackles. But so it's good from that standpoint. And again, on the offensive side, just first thing in being successful in offense is you got to not beat yourself. You can't have missed assignments, tackles for loss, because that's what happens. Missed assignment leads to tackles for loss. We had back-to-back offsides, we got wide-out offsides coming off the goal line. So just some self-inflicted mistakes that really cost you. But didn't think we kicked the ball well today. So best part of this day was, I think, just overall was the defense. So that was a real positive. We've got a lot of good tape that we'll go in and study, and that's what spring ball is all about. I mean, it's a process that you go through and trying to prepare your team for the summer, the fall, and hopefully we'll come back on Monday and we'll see some of these guys improve from some of their mistakes.
Any questions? Or you cover everything? Did you see any improvement from your freshman quarterbacks today?
They both did some good things. I thought Tucker had maybe his best day. I thought he had a much better day than he had his first scrimmage. And then Kelly, didn't really see anything negative from him today. Made some plays with his legs. I mean, he's just a natural, gifted guy and a problem for defenses. Because even when things kind of break down, you got a chance for something big to happen to him. But they both did okay. I thought Nick was better as far as the mistakes that he made. That's what I wanted to see out of him today. I was disappointed with just how he managed things last week in a couple of situations that just a couple mental mistakes on his part. I didn't see that today. He made some nice throws, sat in the pocket well. He moved around in the pocket well. He made good decisions in the running game. He needed a lot of support from some of the other, takes 11, but just evaluating him, I thought he had and he wasn't bad last week. There were some game management things that we can't have. And he really was much more dialed in today.
Up front, was it the veterans or the young guys or both that were making the mental errors?
That was mixed bag. I mean, just both. I mean, we had first group, we had two offensive linemen, 2 starters jump offside back-to-back plays. So that's the kind of stuff, open up a drive and you're 10 yards in the hole before you even run a play. It's hard to overcome those type of things. But, same thing with the young group. More disappointing with the older guys that didn't really quite have their mind where they needed to have it today.
Any running backs stand out today?
Gallman just continues to just shine. I mean, he's a special talent, and I thought Tyshawn Dodd did some good things today, and Fuller had a heck of a day once again. He's a really hard guy to find. Back there behind that offensive line, and he's explosive through the hole, low pads. And I thought the first part of the scrimmage, C.J. Davidson really did a nice job. Had some really good runs for us. He's just now kind of getting back healthy, and I think he's had 2 good practices in a row. So, all those guys. Zach Brooks broke off a couple of long runs. In fact, Zach was the one that came off the 1 yard line and ripped off about a 50-yard run, so 44-yard run.
Dabo Swinney from the Tigers scrimmage today, and again the news that J.J. McCullough has been returned to the roster from his suspension. So it sounds like he liked the way they ran the ball today, felt like the freshman quarterbacks continued to show some progress, and defensively, I think he felt like they had a really good day and that they are successfully filling in the holes created by the departure of those 7-8 major contributors from last year, many of whom are going to be drafted here in another month.
Well, it'd be interesting to see with the new coaching at the offense coordinator position, whether we see rejuvenated use of the tight end position, especially in short yardage. That little quick dump to the tight end, a guy like McCullough can take that a pretty good way. So I think probably it would be interesting to see how they handle the use of the tight end, especially in short yardage, which has been the one bugaboo for Clemson offensively.
Yep. And so getting McCullough back, he's a versatile guy. You can line him up at tight end. You can line him up at fullback. You can shift him to tight end. He can be that H-back kind of guy. That's a valuable addition to Clemson, especially at a position where they've been thin because of injuries at the tight end position. Speaking of rosters, Devin Washington came out last night. Devin Washington no longer going to play football at South Carolina, succumbing to injuries. He had a concussion. He had other injuries, defensive end out of Florida. It's too bad. I remember when he committed to South Carolina, you couldn't find a guy that was happier about picking his school and knowing where he wanted to go. So I'm sure it's a tough deal for him. So by my numbers now, looking at the Gamecock roster, that leaves them with 52 current scholarship players, veterans, and they've got coming in, they've got 20, let's see, what's the number? No, 30, 31 or 30. 31 commits coming in. That includes those who've already enrolled. So bottom line is that puts them at 83.
2 short of the back.
2 under the number. Yeah. By my count, they're at 83. Gives you some idea of what they can do with 12 seniors on scholarship in this class. Gives you some idea of how many they can recruit.
Yeah, before I get going, just thank you guys for your work, helping us, covering us. I know it.
All right, up at Doug Kingsmore, Presbyterian and Clemson locked up in a tight one. It's 2-2 as they play the bottom of the third inning. 2-2-0 for the Tigers, 2-3-0 for the Blue Hose. USC today had its pro day. Dylan Thompson was on fire, 41 of 41 in throwing passes today. So obviously he had to be pleased with that. Here's Dylan talking with reporters after his performance.
Yeah, before I get going, just thank you guys for your work, helping us, covering us. I know it's tough at times, but I appreciate every one of y'all that's been here throughout the ride. It's been fun, but I just want to say thanks to you guys for doing that. And I feel good. You know, it's great weather. You guys probably have some tan lines, but it's good. It feels really good out here. So we had a good day.
What do you want to work on out here today, or what do you want to get done?
I wanted to show some teams that I was more athletic than they thought I was, and that I was accurate. And I feel like I did those two things, and I felt good.
Got to feel good that the ball didn't hit the ground.
Yeah,
out here.
That's a good thing. You know, I think at the end of the day, as a quarterback, if you do that, you're in good shape. And just this today, that's what we wanted to do. We want to have a clean day, and came out here, and I don't know of any workouts that have gone no balls on the ground, but we were able to do that. And Demir, Nick, Cody, Mike, Connor, you know, those guys really look great.
You saw Connor go undrafted last year, but you ended up in a good situation. So your mindset of as you get ready for the draft and know that maybe that's not just the end if you don't get drafted.
Absolutely. You know, I'm unemployed right now. So we're just trying to get a job. That's what I'm looking forward to, is just getting an opportunity and getting a good chance to go in and compete.
Do you have lots of different people in your ear, Dylan, kind of telling you what scouts are really wanting to see more out of you?
You do. You know, and today I wanted to show, like I said, that I was more athletic than they thought, and that, you know, I was accurate. And I feel like I did that, and, you know, hopefully it'll be good feedback.
What'd you run? Do you know?
They told me 4.68. So that's what I was told.
Was that good? Were you happy with
I
that?
want to run under 4.7. And so that, yeah, fit in that category.
When you're up, basically this is like a 3-hour job interview. Let's just talk about that pressure. And obviously, is it as much pressure, maybe even more so than competing, last fall?
It's different. You know, it's like you go and then you're cold, and then, okay, we need you to do this. And so that part of it is different. You know, you're exactly when you're going to go, when you're going to run. But as a whole, it's fun to be out here with your friends, guys that you've, you know, been on the journey with for 4 or 5 years. And it's fun to see guys do great out here.
It would seem like you're going to be in a similar situation to what Connor was with the draft. After the draft, you're going to kind of look for that place that's maybe your best fit. Have you talked to him about dealing with that and trying to find that kind of fit in a certain place?
I have. You know, we've spoken, and he's been great. I think we got a great relationship because we don't really talk about anything unless it matters. And he's helped me with that, on that end of things. Obviously, last year when you guys were talking to him, he probably thought he was going to get drafted. And I thought he should have got drafted, but that's the way it worked. You know, he didn't, but he went into a great fit. He worked his butt off. He performed at a high level, had a great preseason. And you look up and he's starting the game at the end of the year. And now the team loves him. He's a competitor. And, you know, following on that path would be nice, just to be known as someone that competes, someone that can't cut. And that's something that I try to do.
All right, there you go. There is Dylan Thompson after his pro workout today. Went well for him. Went well for Mike Davis, who ran under a 4.4. Demir Bird ran under a 4.3. He really lit things up. And A.J. Can had a nice workout as well. See if they help their status for the upcoming draft. Back in a moment.
be honest, I thought a lot of toothpastes were pretty much the same. But then my husband started getting better.
I thought we were good in parts. I thought we were sloppy. Some sloppy tackling.
Up at Doug Kingsmore Stadium, it's 2-2. They go to the top fourth. Clemson and Presbyterian locked up in a good one. I tell you, these mid-major, smaller programs, they got good baseball teams. Presbyterian scored on a home run by McCray to right center, 2-run homer. So PC had the early 2-0 lead, top of the first. Bottom of the first, okie dokie. Didn't hit a home run, but he doubled in 2 runs to tie the game.
Hot.
He is swinging a hot bat right now. So it's 2-2, Tigers and Presbyterian. Pitching for Clemson is Jake Long, and he has gone 3 2/3 innings, allowed 2 earned runs. He has struck out 5. He has walked 1. And pitching for Presbyterian is Tanner Chalk. Tanner Chalk on the mound for the Blue Hose. All right, 800-956-7266, our number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com and on Twitter at sportstalksc. A lot of you hammering away at one another on our Twitter timeline, and that's fine. Enjoy reading what you have to say about one another and each other's programs from time to time. But occasionally it's nice to share an insightful thought with us on our Twitter timeline, and if you do, we'll share that over the airwaves. Back to Clemson football. Today, the Tigers had a scrimmage inside Death Valley, and you heard from Dabo Swinney early on. He felt pretty good about the play of the defense in particular. Well, here is defensive coordinator Brent Venables to talk about the play of his defense.
I thought we were good in parts. I thought we were sloppy. Some sloppy tackling, gave up a couple big plays in some critical situations. 2-minute drill, gave up a touchdown off a missed tackle, let him out on the 1-yard line on a missed tackle in the hole. Those are things that you can't do. You got to execute the fundamentals. I thought there were some good plays. I don't think they were quite as sharp. I did think we were very competitive. When we were a little bit sloppy, we came back and responded. So got next week to correct some mistakes and get better at our fundamentals and still find, all of our different groups, that go out there in our different packages. So we'll get through all that as well.
What are you seeing from the defensive end?
Shaq's been he's been real strong, has had a strong spring. I've seen him get better. Kevin Dodd has come to work every day. Hadn't seen him have really a bad day from an effort and work ethic standpoint. And I've seen Ebo grow and improve, gotten better. Albert Huggins has gotten out there and has done a few good things for a young guy, learning the speed of the game and learning his responsibilities and technique. Trying to think. Richard Yergin has really shown some. He's play faster, stronger, just playing more sure of himself, getting more comfortable. Still has to take another step, but I've been pleased with some things from him as well. So, if I'm really keeping anybody out.
How's Chris Register done in the week that?
He's just, it's only been, I think, today might have been third practice. So I think that's a position that's going to suit his skills well. And when he just learns all the little things, where to put his eyes, how to even get the stance. But he's a worker, and he cares. He wants to play, and he can tackle, and he can run, and he's intelligent. So he'll come along. He'll make a big jump here over the course of summer and fall camp.
Brent, I think last week you were kind of intrigued about Van Smith. Can you maybe update on his progress since?
Yeah, he's done some good things. You can see he understands the game. He's not overwhelmed schematically or physically. He's not playing with his ears pinned back either every snap, but he's got a pretty good understanding of where he's supposed to be, his responsibility, his positioning. I think we got him in a good spot. So he'll tackle when he can cover. He's got good instincts.
J-Ron continue to be a standout safety.
Who said he was a standout?
He said he had interception today.
He did. A great play. Number 2. Quarterback threw it right to him. So.
Okay. We had an audio meltdown there.
Wow.
All right, there you go. Brent Venables, some of what he had to say after the Tigers scrimmage today. So they feel pretty good about where their defense is, I think, at this point in spring. As good as you can feel, pro coaches in the spring, I don't think they're ever happy. If the defense is doing well, then there's something wrong with the offense and vice versa. They want to continue to push and not let these guys get too comfortable. But
that's what Venables said. He threw it right to him, the interception.
Well, yeah, and you look at Clemson's defense, and you still have to like the way they line up personnel-wise. Their defensive front, Shaq Lawson, DJ Reader, Carlos Watkins, and Kevin Dodd, I think could be as fearsome as any in the ACC. I mean, that's Watkins coming off the injuries he suffered in that car accident. Still trying to get back to where he was, but apparently has made great progress. You heard him talk about Dodd. Reader has plenty of experience. Lawson is a potential, I might say, certainly all-ACC candidate, maybe even All-American. I mean, he could have one of those monster years from what we've seen of him in the past. Then you got guys like Scott Pagano, and you've got Ibo Okundeko, and those guys are ready to step up. You heard him talk about Richard Jurgen. Again, the linebacking core, Blanks, Goodson, Boulware, Register, O'Daniel. Of course, Register, I think, is playing more defensive end now. O'Daniel, Corey Rogers has apparently looked good in the spring, too. They like their second. I don't think, of course, I'm usually wrong about my observations on this. I say something, and it turns out to be completely opposite. I don't think they're going to be the number one defense in the country. That's too much to ask again, especially against the tough schedule they're going to be facing. They're facing they got to go to Miami. They got to go to Louisville on Thursday night. They got plenty of tough offensive teams they're going to face. But I still think they have a chance to be, at worst, about a top 15, top 20 type of defense.
As I said, the first 4 or 5 games are critical because let's look at it from the opposite end of the spectrum. They knew there was going to be, with Deshaun Watson, eventually a transition at the quarterback position. So what does the defense do? They're the number 1 defense. So they bought time for the offense to evolve, even through the injuries to Deshaun Watson. This year, okay, offense, it's your turn. Now you've got to put points on the board, move the football, run clock, till your defense grows up. And that's what most teams do. Obviously, one side of the ball may be stronger than the other. And I think that if Clemson gets through those first 4 games with good offensive production enough to help the defense out as they grow, then they got another solid team capable of winning in double digits next year.
Yeah. Well, there's no reason not to think that the offense won't be productive. I mean, I think they've got plenty of security knowing that they're going to have an offense that should generate for them something in the neighborhood of 30 points per game against most of the defenses that they're going to face. I mean, their offense, you start with the quarterback and all those skill position players they have. The concern a little bit up front where you have to replace a couple of guys. You know, Joe Gore, is he going to be able to hold up at right tackle? He's had the knee problem over the years. Is he going to hold up? If not, will it be Fru Morgan, a true freshman? Tyrone Crowder, I think, is going to be just fine at right guard. Maybe Maverick Morris, Ryan Norton or Crowder at center, Eric McLean at the other guard, Isaiah Battle at the other tackle. They're proven commodities. Of course, today, Jay Guillermo, we haven't talked about this, but Jay Guillermo took to Twitter today and expressed his outrage, apparently, over the fact that he has a $500 student loan bill still to pay at Clemson after withdrawing from school because of his health concerns, and he's upset about that.
To himself and make a play he's supposed to make. So he dropped one, so he's 50%. So that'll get you beat. But no, he's.
We're just really excited about participating in our first Final Four. that you want to get from an offensive standpoint.
I mentioned the Jay Guillermo tweets this afternoon. He tweeted out the following: "It's great when you owe the university $525 after you withdraw for a loan I had to get because I couldn't afford to feed myself. As much money as us athletes make, this is how we're treated. Either stay 60% of the semester or get the medical attention I need. Hashtag good job, Clemson." So, Dabo Swinney has said repeatedly that Guillermo was going to miss the spring for an undisclosed reason, as he kept saying, to get himself healthy, but they did not say what the issue was. Now, you check out his Twitter feed, you see a lot of tweets from him about working out and lifting weights and conditioning himself and all that. So even though he hasn't been practicing, apparently he has been around the football team and around the weight room working out. So we'll wait and see how this sits with the Clemson hierarchy. That's not the kind of thing they like to have out there coming from one of their football players.
One of the things that young people have to know, that before you fly off the handle, and maybe he's done this, I don't know, but you always go to people and talk. Coach Swinney, look, I have this thing. What am I supposed to do about this? I mean, who do I have to need to talk to? I mean, did he just fly off the handle and go on to Twitter and
Don't
do
know.
that? Or?
Have no idea. He hasn't been available, hasn't been around to talk to anybody. So the bottom line is, it feels like he is getting the shaft at Clemson, not from the football program, from the university.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't really directed at the football program. It's directed at the university, the financial side of the university that apparently says you owe us $525. And, apparently they needed him. He needed to stay 60% of the semester. He was being put in that position, stay in school, or as he puts it here, go get the medical attention I need. So, again, nobody knows. Nobody has said what this is all about as far as the medical attention that he needs.
Yeah.
We've been left in the dark about that. All right, Dawn Staley's going to meet with the media here in Columbia tomorrow, but today she, along with the other Final Four coaches for the women's Final Four, had individual conference calls with media across the country. Here's a little bit from Dawn talking about USC's first trip to the Final Four with her as the coach.
We're just really excited about participating in our first Final Four in our program's history. Our players are pretty excited about it, but we're also going to approach this as a business trip. I can remember participating in my first Final Four, and I believe 1990, and reflecting on that, I was really just happy to be there. All the hoopla before you actually played the game plays a role in having the energy to finish the job. So we'll be conscious of that throughout our stay in Tampa, and also just instilling our players that we came to win games, and our focus has to be on that.
Hi, Dawn. I got two questions for you. The first is, how important is your leadership, the girls that are leading your team going into this, the team's first Final Four? And then I'll let you answer that, then I'll ask you a question about Notre Dame.
I think it's extremely important, but at the same time, we need to continue to stress staying in character. With all the excitement of going to the Final Four, we need to stay in character. We need to, continue to focus, and our leaders, which, they're in unfamiliar territory. It's easy to focus at home, and it's easy to focus, on the road, when there are less distractions. We have, and it's all teams that are coming, they have a lot of distractions. The hoopla, all of their relatives, their parents are going to be there in the same hotel. So there's going to be a lot. I think it's really important that, we focus, we enjoy it, but we focus on the task at hand, and that is, probably making some of our relatives upset because we won't, we're going to treat it as a road game where we don't have a whole lot of time to share and enjoy, with our loved ones because we have, April 8th to share, all these wonderful times, but so we're looking forward to it, and hopefully it ends the way we want it to end.
And that would be cutting down the nets on Tuesday night. That's how they wanted to end, cutting down the nets on Tuesday night. We don't cut down nets. Of course they cut down the nets.
Do you remember they passed on it with the Sweet 16 or whatever it was?
They cut down the nets at the regional.
I know. They cut down the nets in Greensboro.
Yeah.
What was that the Kevin Ollie said about Connecticut? They agreed to cut down nets. Remember that last year?
What's it going to do with the Final Four in Indiana next year? The women's Final Four is in Indiana next year, in Indianapolis next year. The men's this year.
I have a feeling that, with the dollars on the table, the legislature deals with that law at that point.
We'll be right back.
Dumbass. Dumbass.
All right, tomorrow night here on Sports Talk, another busy show for you. USC football will be back on the practice field. We'll have that covered for you right here on Sports Talk. We will hopefully hook up with Jamal Gregory. Missed him tonight. Pre-planned, but sometimes plans don't always work out when you're dealing with teenagers. But he's a fine young man. We'll try to hook up with him tomorrow night on the program. Tomorrow night, South Carolina, Mississippi State baseball, and Clemson. Let's see, the Tigers, of course, they're still playing Presbyterian right now. It's 2-2. Clemson and Presbyterian tied in the fifth inning. And Tigers, actually, they don't start their series with North Carolina till Friday.
Okay.
So they've got the night off tomorrow night, so we may try and hook up with Coach Leggett. Big weekend series for Clemson coming up against North Carolina Friday, Saturday, 6:30 both nights, and then 1 o'clock on Sunday. Then they have Georgia come to town. Then they have Charleston Southern come to town to wrap up this 10-game homestand for the Tigers. But the series against North Carolina, pretty important for them considering where they are in the standings right now in the ACC. The Tigers, after losing the series against Wake Forest, they are 5-7 in play. North Carolina's only 6-6 in the Coastal Division, 16-11 overall, 6-6 in the league. So both teams need to win some league games.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure they'll be going after one another pretty hard starting this weekend. South Carolina going to Mississippi State, 5-4 in league play. Mississippi State's only 3-6 and 19-11 overall. So they've been scuffling a little bit.
That's shocking for them. And now they want to get well against South Carolina. And South Carolina has to repel still that environment. You still it can be intimidating
Cowbells.
in Starkville.
Those Cowbells. The Heritage coming up in a couple of weeks, RBC Heritage. For those of you heading out for the 47th annual event on Friday, April 17th, if all goes well, if the weather's good and everybody signs off on it, there will be a flyover. A Boeing 787 Dreamliner will fly over the 18th hole at 12. Now, I was there the first time they did that. It is pretty awesome. And it's, first of all, the setting. You're down the 18th hole, Calabogie Sound, and there's nothing going on. You're waiting, and then out of the clear blue sky, which it has to be, comes this plane. And, I mean, I remember the time they did it the first time. He brought the plane in, he brought it down low. Then all of a sudden, he kicked that thing into high gear and took it like straight up and took off and left. So it's pretty quick. If you blink, you miss it. But it's pretty impressive when they bring that thing in for a flyover. Oh, Liberty, by the way, Liberty of the Big South announced Richie McKay is coming back as head coach. He'd been the head coach once before going to Virginia to be on Tony Bennett's staff. He is coming back as the head coach. Pro, thank you very much. Have a good night. Thank you, State Man. And thanks to all of you for being with us tonight here on Sports Talk. We'll see you tomorrow night.